Hello and welcome to today's lesson. Today we are looking at line 4, factoring to solve quadratic equations. Please make sure that you picked up a notes paper or have a place to take notes and show me that you understand the lesson. Our objective for today is that the mathematicians, you all, can solve quadratic equations by factoring. So one of the key pieces to this is that when we are factoring, we are going to use something called the zero product property. And basically what the zero product property allows us to do is that when we know a function is equal to 0, then that means either the first term or the second term have to be equal to 0. So in here what we see, a is 0 or b is 0 to make the product of those equal 0. So you'll see what that looks like here as we continue. So what does it look like to actually apply the zero product property in order to solve or find the solutions to the equation? So we have 4t plus 1 and t minus 2 are equal to 0. So using the zero product property, what I can do is set each individual set of parentheses equal to 0. And as I solve those two, I will then get my answers. So I can subtract 1, 4t equals negative 1, divide by 4, and t equals negative 1/4, or add 2, and t is equal to 2. All right, we've got several got it questions here for you today. Since this is a little bit easier, you've got 4 got it questions, so please take a moment and try all 4 of these. When you are done, resume the video to check your answers. All right, welcome back. So your answers are listed here. If you have any questions about how we got these answers, help finding a mistake or something like that, please pause your video and raise your hand. Otherwise, let's continue on here. So we can also use the zero product property when we have an equation that first needs to be factored. So when I look at problem 2, I have x squared plus 8x plus 15. So the first thing that I need to do is factor that equation. X squared plus 8x plus 15. Well, I'm looking for factors of 15 that add up to equal 8. So 1 times 15, that does not equal 8, but 5 and 3 do. So I can set this up as x plus 3 times x plus 5 equals 0. And then once again, x plus 3 equals 0, or x plus 5 equals 0. And my answers would be negative 3 or negative 5. So the only difference there is that I have to first factor my equation before I can set the two individual binomials equal to 0. Once again, we do have several got it questions because, again, this is a review skill. And so if you could please pause your video, take a moment and try these. When you are ready to check your answers, please resume. All right, welcome back. Here are your answers. Once again, if you have any questions as to how I got these answers, please pause your video, raise your hand, and I am more than happy to explain them to you or help you find your mistakes. Let's move on to question 3. So what about if we have something like this? Well, in order for the zero product property to work, I do have to have an equation equal to 0. So I am going to take this equation and first write it in standard form. So I am going to subtract 18 from both sides so that I have 4x squared minus 21x minus 18 is equal to 0. Now in this case, I do have an equation that can be factored. So I am going to have to factor this. As I look here, I am looking for factors of 4 times 18 is negative 72, factors of 72 that add up to equal negative 21. So as I look at that, I'm thinking about 72 divided by 2, but 36 and 2 do not equal 21. 72 divided by 3, and I have the factors of 24 and 3, so I think that that will be able to work. 4x squared, I'm going to move over here just for my space, minus 24x plus 3x minus 18 equals 0, and then factoring from there. I can factor 4x out over here, and I end up with x minus 6. I can factor out a 3, and I end up with x minus 6. So now I have 4x plus 3, x minus 6 equals 0. So I set those two binomials equal to 0 to figure out my values. So 4x plus 3 equals 0 and x minus 6 equals 0. So this one's going to be x equals 6, or I've got 4x equals negative 3, where x is equal to negative 3 over 4. So x equals negative 3/4, sorry you can't see that very well. X equals negative 3/4, or x equals 6. All right, you've got a got it question. If you could please pause your video and give this one a try, that would be great. All right, welcome back. Here is your answer. So for this one, we have negative 7 as our answer. Now, a quick reflection question. Why does this quadratic specifically only have one solution? And when you look at this, it only has one solution because when you factored, it ended up being a perfect square. And so you had two answers, but they were actually the exact same. So it ended up only being one. And that is it for today. So if you would please show me your notes paper to show me that you listen to the lesson and understand it, that would be great. And I will give you your homework assignment. If you have any questions, please make sure that you ask.